Hello everyone, this is Squirk level 65 Necro on Agnarr. In this video I'm going to do a small tutorial about how to RootRot as a Necro. This is a great solo technique for places like dungeons where you have a limited amount of space, where kiting is not really very feasible. You can do this at many levels and many different zones. One of the preconditions though is that you need to find a place where mobs generally don't summon. So here in Splitpaw, I've had to load a bunch of different dots, fire, disease, poison, magic. And that's because different elementals, like fire elementals, won't accept fire. The earth elementals are resistant to poison. The water elementals can be fairly resistant to magic. So you need a variety of tools so you have the right one for the job. Now the process is pretty simple. We're eventually going to be root-rotting 3 to 4 mobs at a time. But before that, we have to create space. Because root-rotting is more difficult when you don't have much operating room. So I've rooted the mob with Petrifying Earth, which is the long duration root. The other one, Greater Immobilize, is a faster casting, short duration root. And we're basically going to start applying our dots to the first mob. In terms of life tap, I'm using a duration tap, not the direct damage, because the direct damage life taps have a high propensity to break root. Okay, so we're just starting to work in this fire elemental. I'll just grab one more for now. These earth elementals are quite resistant to magic, so you'll get a lot of root breaks, or roots won't last very long, so they're a little bit of a pain. But the good news is that they are susceptible to fire. And they do have more hit points than the other elemental types. These guys you cannot cast poison on, however. So far it's been pretty smooth sailing. I've got both mobs casting on me, which is why you want to have good resists. And we want to keep a very close eye on our snare. So he just resists. That's why I'm casting snare early. Got that snare. I've got this. As long as everything is snared, you have an opportunity to get control of situations. He's just broken snare. Or sorry, he's resisted snare. Okay, that one's stuck. So far, we've not had root break. But one of the important things is that you know roughly where you're going to run if root breaks. In my case, I'm going to run a little bit backwards. Just keeping a close eye on these snares. And Splurt, you don't want to refresh it ever before it completely wears off, because that will reset it to the take. Like the snare is kind of like a Fibonacci sequence of damage. Let's get one more big dot in this guy. And we should be good to go to pull the next one, which will be this water elemental invader behind me here. So again, we start with root. Then we get a snare. You can stick pretty much every spell type in these water elementals. However, they tend to be quite resistant to magic, so I'm probably not going to be using horror that much on these guys. And after this, we'll be checking the root on the Earth Elemental. The root's okay, but our dots have worn off largely. Oh, nope, root's fading. And Snare is fading. As you can see, I'm not in a huge hurry to kill these mobs. I'm not using like Envenom Bolt, for example, my other poison dot. Because you want to keep your mana efficiency up, otherwise the XP is just going to be too slow. So at this point, we're going to grab another guy. And he's resisted root, so pet attack. Reroot, pet back off. And let's get him snared. And before we dot him too much, let's check our root and snare on this guy. Snare is a bit low. As you can see, I'm casting. We've had a root break, pet attack, reroot, pet back off. My pet's a bit too close. Snare is wearing off this guy, which is bad. I'm going to mend companion my pet here because he's a bit beat up. And so as you can see, we've killed 2 mobs so far, and we have started creating a little bit of space for ourselves, which is really important. You need space to move around, and the more space you have, the easier this whole process becomes. You can see I'm healing myself with a duration tap. And you don't always need to use your pet. Like right now, I've got enough running space to get away from the mob and reapply root. So the pet is there basically as an emergency. And we have a root off. This is an emergency. The root and Snare are both off. Okay, get the pet off. Back. Okay. And that mob is dead. My pet is very low health. But as long as they are out of combat, they will regenerate very quickly. This guy has his Snare off, which, as we already established, is bad. And he needs more dots. Okay, his root is off. I've got plenty of running room. Well, not as much room as I thought. I'm a little bit off on my timing. Casting root too early. Okay, there he goes. Alright, this one cons red. He's level 69. So one of the nice things when you're root rotting, oops, pet Fane. And this is looking pretty precarious for my pet. Eesh. My pet's Fane death failed. Okay, I mean, this happens. So we're going to control the mob. I'm going to pop a heal potion here. And I have a fungus-covered great staff, which will just help me regen a little bit. Not a big deal. But we will get a new pet up. And you can see one fundamental mistake I made here is if you need to resummon your pet, don't do it in the spell gem that is occupied by your root. But all's well that ends well. I'm just focusing my pet first. Alright, let's get this guy dotted up. These guys are also fairly magic resistant, so as you can see my mana's gone a bit lower than I'd like. So I'm just being pretty mana efficient with this guy. Okay, we've got the pet back up and running. It's good. We've got 3 minutes on root. We've got 30 seconds on snare, so we need to redo that. Okay, he's looking satisfactory to me. So let's grab this guy. I'm going to pull him back a little bit. So I'm actually going to pull his snare first this time. As you can see, we have a root break on the Redcon one. My timing is way off on root. I'm casting it a little bit too early. Okay, I got my damage over time life tap going. We have another root break. Temporarily just send the pet to attack. Pet back. So with life taps over time, you can have multiple ones going in different mobs. However, you're limited to one recourse, so you're not going to get additional healing. Okay, we've got this guy's going to warp on us, I believe. Pet back. So he's probably going to warp right on top of me. Yep. But he didn't have a very good time of it. He resisted my snare and root broke. So let's redo that. Root's back on. Okay, we're good on snare. Our health leaves something to be desired, so we're going to tap in. And he's going to warp, so I'm actually going to pet attack for a second. Pet back off. I don't like his positioning because I'm not going to have line of sight, I think, on him. Let's test it. That's still okay. I guess he's... Pet attack. Pet back off. Root broke yet again. Pet feign death. As you can see, he was getting really low there. Okay. This guy is very resistant. Let's try and keep her health up. And get her dots started again. Like, if you have a super resistant guy like this, like, I already know he's resistant. I'm not going to be pulling even more mobs until I get at least this guy dead. Yep, it's a bit close. There we go. What are we missing? We're missing disease. And I'm going to take the opportunity to recast my Force Shield. Alright, Snare is back on. And before he dies, let's try and get one more life tap on him, just so we can heal for the next mob. We can med a little bit. Okay. Alright, Pet, you can get back up. So you can use stuff like potions pretty liberally here. I mean, you're getting trash drops that's worth more than 100 plat to a vendor. You're getting blue diamonds. So there's enough loot in here that you can just make your life easier by using up potions that cost 10 or 20 platinum each. Alright, now these wave crashers are my nemesis. Your problem here is that you're going to have to kill this mob about 5 times because he complete heals. And there's relatively little that we can do about it. So the one thing I can hope for is because I'm some distance away, he's casting spells on me. So that's consuming 200 mana, 200 of his mana each cast. So hopefully he will only have enough mana to cast maybe 2 or 3 CHs. But like with a very resistant mob, when you have a wave crasher up, don't pull more. Because we will have to kill him a couple times over. See, he just healed himself. Let's refresh our snare. Keep casting at me, please. So I don't like you having mana. I think I'm going to be using a mana potion myself here. The greater concentration gives you 3 extra mana regen at level 65. Yeah, these mobs are incredibly annoying. The one good thing about them is they're not terribly resistant to anything. So the other option you have, of course, is just not pull these guys to begin with. But the problem with that, if you're going to be here for a while, eventually you're only going to have wave crashers left. Let's get a nice vantage point here. There we go, a little pedestal to observe our friend. Does he still have CH? I'm just testing. No, he's finally out of mana. So let's burn him down. Finally, finally, finally. Bye-bye. Okay, who's next? You're next. Another Redcon one. This one is level 70. Alright, oh, I hate... You have to be very careful with warping issues in here. Okay, he has been rooted. If you hear me coughing a lot, I have to apologize. I've got a bit of a sore throat. Alright, I'm going to hold off my horror because I'm low mana and horror is terribly mana inefficient. What else do we have in this camp? Okay, we've got another Earth Elemental over here. Let's grab him. And let's bring him over to his buddy here. And again, these guys are poison resistant. And we'll be checking on our 30 seconds on Snare and 2 minutes on Root. But our dots have largely worn off, so need to fix that. We have a break. He's going to warp, so pet attack. Pet back off. We have another break in the other guy. Pet attack. Pet back off. And he's died, which is good. Yeah, the warping is a real issue in here, but unfortunately I cannot show you my XP because I'm already capped, but the XP in here root rotting is very, very good. I think you're getting somewhere in the neighborhood of about maybe 15% AA per kill. So every 7 kills is an AA point. Maybe even a little bit more. Snare is wearing off. Oh, poison is not the right one. And I think we have mana for maybe one more. before we will both take a little bed break, and at the same time I will stop the video because this is getting too long. So yeah, this fire elemental raider over here will be my last root mob for this video. Alright, this guy's run out of dots. You can see now that we've cleared most of the camp, life is much easier. There's room to run around and kind of navigate around the rooted mobs. Now let's get a fresh root new and a fresh snare. I don't think this will quite kill you, but it'll be pretty close. And how are you doing back here, my friend? Minute on snare and 2 minutes on root, which is fine. Pet attack, he's almost dead anyways. Okay. Again, in general, root rotting is not as efficient as aggro kiting and definitely not as efficient as charming. But it's fun to go to other zones sometimes. Splitpaw is a pretty good XP zone for Necros. You can just come in here, you can see him self-buff, it's nothing special. Kill a few mobs and get some pretty good AA points, I would say. This isn't blazing fast experience, but it's fast. And we start to get repops, as you can see. So just to recap, the key is to keep stuff snared, and the key is to create space. In the beginning, especially when you don't have much space, because there's still a full pop, always know where you're going to run next, should root break. You don't want to be figuring that out after the root's already broken. So have a plan, like if this thing breaks, I'm obviously going to move back here. I can no longer move in there. Okay, that's it. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.